Did Paddy the Baddy win? That's the big question. That's what everybody is talking about. Of course, UFC 282 happened at the weekend. Great night of fights, lots of finishes, anticlimactic main event in the light heavyweight title fight. But the co-main event, this is the real talking point right now. Did Paddy really defeat Jarad Gordon? That is the question, because according to Paddy, he did. According to the judges' scorecards, he did. But if you listen to fans, if you look at the comments on social media, if you look at people on Twitter, all around the world, the general consensus seems to be that Jarad Gordon won the fight, not Paddy. So let's talk about it. So we have the stats, we have the judges' scorecards, and they had it 29-28 with Paddy generally winning the first two rounds. Jarad outstruck him in the first round, 30 to 29 strikes. Round two, I think Paddy landed one more, and in round three, we saw Jarad go out there and have a terrible game plan, according to Dana. And I understand why Dana would say that, to be honest, because the reality is this was a very, very close fight, and it could have gone either way. Certainly, the word robbery doesn't apply here. That is something that a lot of MMA fans have got to stop saying. When the judges don't agree with your decision, but it's a close fight, that's not a robbery. It's a difference of opinion. And I'm not defending the judges, by the way, because they are trained professionals. That's what they do, but they do get it wrong. And they come out with some utter nonsense sometimes. But so let's talk about the fight. So round one, Jarad goes out there and for my money, he outstruck him. And we know that according to stats, but I'm talking about the damage. Damage, as we know, is the number one criteria. Jarad landed the biggest shots. That's without fact. The left hook, that was the money shot. I called it. I said he throws a straight right to the body. The left hook, that's his best shot. And he seemingly couldn't miss with that left hook. He connected on Paddy many, many times. He had Paddy going backwards. A lot of the time he had him retreating and circling the octagon and trying to avoid him. So I think round one, I think it's pretty clear. It certainly was from my perspective. I was there ringside with my wife. I was watching the fights, and round one I thought, wow, Jarad went out there, imposed his game plan. Paddy definitely landed some shots. Of course, he was in the fight. It was close, as I said. But I had Jarad winning round one. Now round two, Paddy outstruck him. There were some scrambles. And you can make an argument for Paddy in that one, certainly based on the fact that he landed more. But I think Jarad still landed the more significant blows. And this is a fight here. But still, if we're being fair, we'll give Paddy round two. So it's 1-1 going into round three. And this is where Dana's point kind of comes in, that he had a terrible game plan in round three. Because if it was close, which they were, even on the numbers, Jarad should have gone out there, and if he did take him down, which he did, because he was able to win most of the wrestling transitions, some nice takedowns, some good wrestling in effect, he could have been busier. He could have been more active on the feet. He should have been trying to knock him out or get the finish. That's what you do. And then Paddy even said afterwards,
I won the first two rounds and then coasted in the third.
So the same applies. What Dana said. Don't take round three off. In a close fight, even if you think you're up, you don't do that. So Paddy made a mistake, and Jarad kind of made a mistake. Listen, in the third round, Jarad won that round clearly. Damage is the number one criteria. But if there isn't much damage on either side, then you go to other things like octagon control, aggression, game plan, things like that. Duration of control. Jarad had duration of control for most of round three. Paddy landed a couple of shots, but let's be honest, it was one of those rounds where people were starting to look at the phones and things like that. There wasn't a lot happening. So I think both men need to learn from that there. But for my money, it was 30-27 or 29-28 for Jarad Gordon. And I feel for him. Listen, I feel for Paddy as well. I do, because if you look on social media now, he's getting a lot of shit. He's getting a lot of shit. Of course, there was that thing at the start of the week with Ariel and Dana. People kind of turned on him for that one. And then now with the fight, with the post-fight, he didn't really give Jarad too much credit. He was kind of cocky about the result. And when you scrape by a decision like that, you've got to be humble. You have to. And guess what? I'm talking from experience, because I've been there. I've been exactly in Paddy's position. I was in the UFC. I was younger than Paddy. I was 26, I think. 26 years old. I fought Matt Hamill, and I was the man. I was getting all the attention in. I was new to it, and you let it all go to your head a little bit. But in that fight against Matt Hamill, which was a very, very close fight, I thought I was going to breeze through him. I thought I was going to knock him out quite easy. I thought I was just going to wipe the floor with it. And we had a little grudge at the time. And afterwards on the microphone, when it was a very, very close fight, that I was very, very lucky to get a decision. And then I got on the microphone and I talked a bit of shit. I was cocky, I wasn't humble. The universe turned on me. People were booing in the arena, even though I was British. Online, everyone hated me, and rightly so.
Bisping's just a dick.
Because looking back, I made a mistake. I was a fool. When you get a lucky decision, when it's a very close fight, you've got to be humble. But listen, we're in the moment. You've just gone out there and fought. You've got adrenaline flowing through your system like crazy. In your mind, you think you won the fight. You think you smashed it. You think you dominated it. But you live and learn. And then you make some silly comments. And that's kind of what Paddy did there. You know, he thought it was fight of the night. I think it was not fight of the night. We know that. But yeah, but there it is. I thought Jarad won. You know, commiserations to Jarad. Well done to Paddy. It was a close fight. It wasn't a robbery. You know, Jarad... I think his stock will rise through this, even though he lost. I think in a lot of people's minds he won the fight, and therefore he handled himself with class and all the rest of it like Jarad always does. And for Paddy, it's just a momentary bump in the road. I mean, listen, the good news for Paddy is that he won. He's now 4-0 in the UFC. So now it's time. I mean, he talks a big game. He says he doesn't want to call anybody out. He says that it's too big for the O2 Arena in London, which they're going back there in March. But, you know, it's time to start fighting some of the top competition. And I think when you look at Jarad, who wasn't yet ranked, a lot of people thought he won the fight. I thought he won the fight. He was able to out-wrestle him. He was able to take him down. He was able to outland him on the feet. You know, Paddy needs to do some work, you know, but he'll learn from this. It's all a learning curve. So I look forward to the next fight for both men. It's going to be interesting. Even a rematch down the line, that might be interesting as well. But still, they're not going to do the rematch. They're going to do, you know, Paddy's going to continue on. He's a big star. He's still got a huge following. You just got to learn. You got to learn from these things. Obviously, I'm not in my usual studio right now, so thank you if you're still watching this video because the light's not the best and stuff. I appreciate you. I'm in Toronto. I'm in Burlington, Ontario, actually, just outside of Toronto, shooting a little scene in a movie, so I'm out of town for a few days, but I'll be back. Fly back tomorrow night, then I'm straight back to Vegas, a little work there, then back home Wednesday night. Obviously, we had Darren Till as well. Darren Till was on there, and, you know, he got beat by Dricus du Plessis. Well done to Dricus du Plessis. He came out of there, got off to a tremendous start. You know, got him up against the fence, kind of had him pinned there, just left hand after left hand. And some of those shots were absolutely gigantic. I remember seeing Darren's head flying back, and I was concerned for him, you know, because he's a mate of mine, and I know he was in a tough position, you know, coming in there on the back of a few losses. This thing, the mind, is the most important weapon. I say it all the time. I know I sound like a broken record. But he wasn't throwing. You know, the second round, he looked like Darren. He went out there, threw some good shots, and then in the third round, got taken down again. Back take him, and neck cranked, rear naked choke, whatever you want to call it. So, a tough spot for Darren. Well done to Dricus du Plessis. I think Darren, you know, potentially might be overtraining, pushing it a little too hard. You know, to stay at 185, I think he's got to do some work in the gym. He's got to do some, obviously work on his takedown defense, and he's got to work on bulking up a little bit. Or if he goes back down to 170, then obviously don't bulk up. But at 185, if he's going to stay there, he needs to put on some muscle mass and just increase the strength. But it's not the end of the road for Darren Till. He's still a great fighter, still with a great potential. He's only just about to turn 30 years old. Still got a lot of time left in him. But still, UFC 282. Can you believe the main event as well? My God, that was anticlimactic, weren't it? You know, Magomed Ankalaev, Jan Blachowicz put on a fight. Jan was ahead on the striking, but Magomed mixed things up. Got the takedowns in round 4 and 5. Round 5 probably a 10-8 because he controlled him and landed a few shots. The leg kicks of Jan Blachowicz were almost caused a finish, let's be honest. I mean, the referee could have stepped in if he landed a few more of those leg kicks, but that's why Magomed switched to the wrestling. And now we have a vacant light heavyweight title once again. So it's going to be Jamal Hill taking on Glover Teixeira in Brazil in January. So that's an interesting turn of events, but I'll go into that one in more detail. I'm going to speak to Anthony Smith, get his side of things, because of course he was going to fight Jamal Hill in, when was it? March. He was going to fight Jamal Hill in March. So obviously that's not going ahead. So lots to discuss there. So come back, keep an eye on the channel. Yeah, there it is. Subscribe, ring the bell. Take care. Much love.